Good morning, and welcome to another episode of I Read with Authors. Today we have a very special guest. This person was born in Huddersfield of the United Kingdom in 1947 and grew up to be an author of many popular books, one of which is Worldshaker. Please welcome Richard Harland.
Thanks for the applause. It's a huge honor to be here.
It is an honor to have you in today's episode. I have received a group of questions from some fans of I Read that they would like to know the answer to. Do you accept the challenge of answering these questions?
I'll try as hard as I can to give the best answer as possible for each question.
Hopefully, it will not be hard answering. Now let us move on to our first question. The question is, could you tell us about the main characters and plot of Worldshaker?
Of course. The plot of Worldshaker starts really early in the book. An upper deck's 16-year-old boy named Colbert Porpentine meets this 14-year-old filthy named Riff. The filthy, Riff, tries to convince Cole to join the revolution against the upper decks in the intention of making equality present on the upper decks. When Riff does get into Cole's mind, the action went into plan and the filthy started a revolution against the upper decks people and defeated them. As for the second part of the question, the two main characters were Riff and Colbert. Colbert, as I stated before, is a 16-year-old upper decks boy that was born into the Porpentine family. Colbert is usually portrayed wearing good quality clothing, as was most upper decks people in Worldshaker. Meanwhile, Riff was a 14-year-old filthy that didn't really have a comfortable life like Colbert. In Worldshaker, like basically all filthies, she wore ragged and torn up clothes. The life down in the lower decks and the conditions she had to suffer with every day down below played a vital role in the start of the revolution.
Very detailed answer. Now our second question is, what character have you chosen to talk about today, and how are they represented in the novel?
For today's Q&A, I decided to talk about Riff as I was really satisfied with how I shaped her up as a character while writing the book. While writing Worldshaker, I wanted a character to be a representation of the struggle of the workers during industrial England, which is mostly why I created Riff as a leader of the filthies. She had gone through similar living conditions as the workers and wasn't really living the comfortable lives like the factory owners back then. Riff's will to gain equality and painful living conditions she was forced to live in caused her to start a revolt. During industrial times, most revolts happened as a cause of inequality. This is another reason why Riff is a symbol of the struggle that workers used to go through.
Does Riff symbolize anything else?
Yes, there are many things she could symbolize depending on the way you look at it.
Okay. Now up to our third question. The question is, what language features were used by you to describe your character?
I used a lot of different language features in order to describe Riff. For example, I described the way she talked by adding or removing letters from normal words. The way she talked gave the reader an idea about her personality. From the way she talks, you could infer that she had a harsh side in her personality, and this harsh side does come into play a few times in the book. I also described her by using some similes in order to give the reader an idea about how she looks like. The way I described Riff using different language features gave the reader a complete idea about how she looks and talks.
Well answered question. We are already up to question 4. Question 4 is, what values and beliefs does the character, in this case Riff, have?
Well, as I answered in a previous question, she symbolized the struggle the workers during industrial times had to go through. Her actions led to her being symbolized as this. In Worldshaker, she was forced to live in the dangers of the lower decks and had to be really fast in order to survive there. These living conditions played a vital role in what she believes about the world in Worldshaker. She believed that inequality was present in the Juggernaut, as when she went to the upper decks, she saw that the upper decks people were living in luxury and have everything that the filthies wished they could have. This ultimately led to her belief that a revolution should be started against the upper decks in order to gain equality. This belief led to the Juggernaut being taken by the filthies.
I believe that her beliefs were very important in the development of the story. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
We are up to question 5, and it is, why did you give Riff these beliefs? What was the message you were trying to give to the readers?
The reason I gave her these beliefs was in order to show that inequality has some really negative results in a community. The Juggernaut's community was filled with inequality and hatred towards the Filthies. And what did this lead to? It led to a revolution in the Juggernaut in order to spread equality throughout it.
Well answered, Richard. Up to the 6th question. It is, did you believe the character you chose, Riff, changed throughout the story?
No, actually, I don't believe so. In the beginning of the story, she had the same beliefs in the beginning and end of the story, which was that inequality was present in the Juggernaut and that they should take over the upper decks in order to gain equality. Her appearance didn't change either. She still wore the same clothes unless she was in disguise, then she would wear a menial uniform. In relation to maturity, she displayed the same kind of maturity in the beginning and end of the story. Being a leader of the Revolutionary Council, she had almost no choice. The living conditions in the lower decks, I believe, also influenced her maturity level because she had gone through a lot. So as I said, I don't believe she changed throughout the story.
Very detailed. Up to the 2nd to last question. It is, in your opinion, what is the most important theme that is examined through the novel and why did you include this theme?
I believe that there is only a limited amount of inequality that people will tolerate is the most important theme. The reason I included this into the book was in order to teach the reader how inequality could cause many problems. In the book, the problem was the revolution. In everyday life, this could be the case too. There have been many revolutions due to this in the past, which is why I believe we should put an end to it.
Well, we are up to our last question for today. What a unique question, if you compare it to the other questions that were asked today. The question is, who is your favorite character in Worldshaker and why?
I must agree, it is completely different to the other questions I had to answer today, but nonetheless I will answer it. I have 2 characters that I really enjoyed making. These 2 were Colbert and Rev, the 2 main characters. Now it's a really hard choice as both of these characters have played very important roles in the book, but I think I'll go for Rev. The reason to this is that I loved the role she had to play throughout the novel and it was a really fun character to make.
Well, that ends our Q&A session with Richard Harland for today. It's been a pleasure being with you, Richard.
It's been a pleasure being here and I would like to thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Remember to drop in your questions for the next author we will interview. He was born in Texas, USA in 1964. He became an author of a well-known book series called Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Have you figured it out yet? If not, stay tuned for the next episode in order to know who he is. Have a nice day, everybody, and remember to read, read, read.